I'm gonna click buttons. Okay.
Ooh,
There.
this is like the most fancy, industrious thing that's ever happened in my bedroom.
So I'm not sure I believe that. I feel like you probably have done lots of industrious things in your bedroom. I hope you have,
I've
because
built lots,
I,
lots of like
yeah.
model trains and stuff.
Oh my, Evie Oddly, you are one of my favoriteest things. There we are. We're live. We're live. People are watching us.
Wow.
It's like,
Hello, people.
hey, Evie. Hi, Aaron. Hey, Zoot, Mo. Hey, Chris. Aaron
All the
says, hey,
homies.
Evie. All the peoples. We
Yeah.
are live. We are live ish. And we're here to talk about the scandal. The scandal. I I feel so silly putting that as the title, but I really like the word scandal.
I think it's important.
It's even if there's
If
no
there's,
scandal.
if there's anything I know about me, and I don't know a lot, I know that there's definitely a scandal.
Well, that is true. That is absolutely true. So we are here to talk about the All About Evie into the Oddity. You're so good.
I
You have
mean,
your copy there. And you gave your,
yeah,
did you pierce your book?
I did pierce my book. I don't know if this is blasphemous or not, but it's so I can wear it as a chain.
It's
The thing is,
everything.
I need a longer chain because I can't actually read it.
Right. Yeah. And
But
if
great
you
for
have,
strangers.
it's great. I love it. Wearing your book as jewelry, everything, everything. I'm living.
So I can really wear my sleeve on my heart.
Yeah. How long did you take to come up with that lie?
That was instantaneous, and that was the most creative thing I've ever done in my whole life. I'm sorry.
It's perfection. It's perfection. Okay, so Evie Oddly, tell me the question that everyone want to knows. Why did you want to do a biography? Did we talk about this? I don't know if we talked about this. Why did you want to do a biography?
I mean, I feel like that was maybe like one of the earlier questions, but I feel like if we're talking honestly, it was probably me asking you, being like, "So why do you want to write my biography, huh?" uh, uh, it was really all the timing. It was all the timing. I believe when you first hit me up, I could be wrong about this, but when you first hit me up, either All Stars was about to air or hadn't aired yet. Uh, uh, it might have been like was that the for me the timing of it felt important because I knew that All Stars was coming. I knew that the way it was going to be received by people was coming, and then I knew that I only had so long to actually like take a hold of the fact that all of these eyes were on me again. And it's no secret to the people out there that I wasn't exactly happy with how much, or rather, how little authenticity there was to what was showed of me on All
Mhm.
Stars, and uh, so it felt like just serendipity. It was the perfect timing. People like to say, "Well, if you don't like your edit, go make your own show. Go make your own shit." Well, this book just presented itself as like the perfect time to tell my own story. To be like, you know what? You're right. I do have so much life and so much history pre-drag race, like during, and there's so much future that I'd like to take control of my own story for once.
I get that. I get that because you do get the the edit. And I would say like one of the reason why I wanted to write the book is I think you got an edit and I felt there was more to you. And I,
Secretly.
yeah, well, not, I mean, let's be honest, not a lot, but I, I'm such a bitch. I wanted to know who that person was. That was a story I wanted to hear. And
Would you
I,
say that's why you wrote it?
yes, yeah, because you walk, I mean, I distinctly remember that moment when you walked in the workroom in that green outfit and the wig. And I was like, what is happening? And then I thought, oh no, there's something there. There's something very, very complex and deep and interesting there. And I didn't get to find that out. And I wanted to know who that person was. Um, and the question has been asked in on the Instagram, the chat in the Instagram, is this book worth the read? Obviously, um, obviously it's worth a read. But I think it does lead us to our next question. So, how can this biography make a change for the read? How do you feel like readers are going to come away from reading this book about you?
Um, I feel like there's any level of depth that people can get out of just connecting with another person's story. I've been reading a whole lot recently, and I just really like the act of reading because you do get to sit down and focus on like what that person has to say. And I think readers who come into this at bare minimum will get a full or at least a fuller picture of my story. So you can see me how you want. You can see the art that I've presented in the world, at least in closer context to the life it was created from. And then you can also like look for some deeper meaning within yourself. You can hopefully find something within yourself because I feel like human beings were really good at giving others advice, at seeing other people's lives and seeing the stories, like watching that movie and understanding, oh, this is what you should have done. And, when we share our stories, we're offering the opportunities to help other people grow, change, and learn. So, maybe some new baby queen is going to read this and uh, win Drag Race and then become president of North America.
Because
She's going to
that's
do
the
better than
natural
me.
evolution, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly. That's what Rue's working on, I assume.
I feel like Sasha Colby may be the next president of North America.
President of North America, right?
Absolutely. I think that is a natural conclusion that we would probably get to. Oh no. Goodness, it's off the rails already. What's your favorite part of the book?
um, I have to say, my favorite part of the book is getting to read what Silky and Brooklyn had to say about their experiences with me on season 11. Not because it wasn't warranted or because it was shocking. It's nice to know that, like, we can put all of these feelings behind us. We can have grown and we can take a look back at the situation and still be like, nah, that bitch was whack.
I thought they were
I mean,
they
I
were, they were nice. I mean, Brooklyn was very Brooklyn. Brooklyn was, you know,
she's sharp. She's
she's
sharp with that
sharp
tongue, mama.
and uh yeah, they were interesting. Those were some really interesting conversations to have.
I could
Um
I could I could guess. I'm very curious how that was for you. How was it for you? You did this process to get to know me. How was it for you getting to sit down with all the characters in this cast, specifically with your motive of telling my story?
it was it was a really interesting experience. Um because obviously I wasn't there for the filming. I was on the outside looking in and got to enjoy the season as a spectator. Jump forward like whatever it was, 3 years, 4 years after that, I got to have conversations with uh, from your season, Brooklyn and Silky. I also got to chat with Asia and Naomi Smalls and other people in your life, like your parents and stuff. And it was interesting for me to have those conversations. Now I'm on the inside of the story in some ways, but I'm still an
Yeah.
observer, right? Like I'm still, this isn't my story. I'm suddenly like this fly on the wall, um,
In
talking
all
to
these rooms.
in all these rooms. I was a whole lot of flies. That doesn't sound right. I don't, that doesn't sound right, but
Well then, Michael, what was your favorite room to be in? What was the most interesting thing for you about this book, or your favorite part of this book?
I was thinking about that. I think the most my favorite part of the book, or at least my favorite part to write, was about your relationship with the fans, which it may seem like a bizarre thing considering your relationship with the fans, but it was getting to have conversations with you about your fans and about the things you went through, and then stepping back as a writer and dissecting them and realizing where that all comes from, um and seeing you for who you are and the emotions, and they were very raw. There's a lot of raw in our conversation, which is not a bad thing. I'm all about it, right? Like I love the raw, the honesty,
Yeah.
the
Right?
grittiness of it all, the dirtiness of life. And so for me, it was being able to see um, that rawness about the fans, because that was, girl, she hit a nerve on that one. And reading the chapter back, I find it to be one of those moments in the book that is still very raw and honest and revealing of who you are and the things you want to see. Um, Aaron just said, us fans are insane. Well, I don't know about insane.
Listen,
Man,
we are because I'm a Drag Race fan too,
yeah.
though. But I will tell you that the one thing that super shifted for me when I got on Drag Race is it forced me to also look at the perspective of not only the drag queens that we all know and like look up to, but just people in general, other people in general. It's really wild how much suddenly being in the spotlight uh, gives you this great desire and this great ability to also be a really good fly on the wall. If everyone's looking at you, you get to look right back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get it. I think that's what uh has been delved into in this book and in the relationship with the fans is that, I I have some very raw feelings about retaining my humanity. Uh, but
Yeah.
it's only
Well,
because I care.
and social media has made it so the fans can have that instantaneous access to their celebrities. I mean, look at us. We're sitting here on Instagram. Nobody knows who the fuck I am, and that's fine. But your fans are asking questions of you directly, and that then creates that situation where like we're, it there is no distance between you and the fan.
Yeah, which
Um,
is why, I had to learn how to take some distance. I had to learn how to like find spaces for myself, breath for myself.
mhm.
Um, uh, Specifically so that, when I go to work, when I clock in, I can really be in love with my job because I am, and it's the love that actually started this job, and it's the love that like keeps this job for me. It's like the love of humanity and how ridiculous it is and how weird we all are, how strange we feel, how human, how inhuman. And I can't savor all that interaction without protecting a little bit of the energy. So
Yeah,
glad I've developed that skill a little better.
I feel that. I feel that. Shall we do a bit of a reading from the book? I'm
Yeah,
I'm gonna
let us
read.
shall.
So I'm gonna read, and I want to know your reaction to what is my opening thoughts in the book, because the book is mostly chapters, but Evie and I both do our own opening thoughts. So I'm going to share that, and I want to know how you react to this because we have never talked about this. So, and there there's actually an Easter egg in the book, and I would love to hear if the fans of when they figure it out. So the chapter is called The Dream Chasers. Who is Evie Oddly? I mean, I know who Evie Oddly is, but who are they really? What makes them tick? What did they, where did they get their ideas from? What was Drag Race really like for them? And most importantly, who are they when the cameras aren't rolling? I remember the moment when they walked into the workroom on season 11 of RuPaul's Drag Race. And my immediate thought was, what in the name of the sweet baby Jesus is this queen wearing? But after the shock wore off, my next thought was, this queen has something. I didn't know what Evie had, but it was that je ne sais quoi, which is French for something. As Candy Muse screamed on her season, it was star quality. Evie has star quality. Now, you might be thinking, I just bought Evie Oddly's biography. Who the fuck is this person writing? Because it's clearly not Evie Oddly, or Evie has finally slipped into the abyss of madness, and her newest personality sounds like an accountant. No, you're right. This isn't Evie writing, although they are close to the madness thing. My name is Michael Bach. Who I am isn't really relevant, but since you asked, I'll share. First, I'm an author. I've written 2 best-selling and award-winning books, along with countless articles and a bunch of publications you've likely heard of. I'm not Evie famous, but some people know my name and not just my parents. I'm also a recovered actor who performed in drag a few times. My last time in drag was a 2004 2005 tour of a live sung drag sister act called The Daisy and Wilma Show. I played Daisy Chain, and my friend Christian played my sister, Wilma Holhurt. We toured Canada and the United States, singing in countless LGBTQIA plus bars and clubs from sea to shining sea. I was gorgeous and skinny, largely because we were barely making ends meet and I was surviving on a diet of gin and low sodium air. But I hung up my heels after that to pursue other opportunities that didn't involve shaving my chest, not as a requirement anyway. I now make my living working in the fields of inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. Lastly, I'm a Drag Race super fan, self-proclaimed because the paperwork to make it official was brutal. I started watching RuPaul's Drag Race on February 2nd, 2009, the day the show first aired. I remember the first moment of the first episode at 2 minutes and 23 seconds when Chanel walked into the workroom with her eyebrows as high as the sky and her ass exposed for all the world to see. I was hooked. Are you kidding? There were drag queens on television, and we weren't the butt of the joke. We got to see positive queer representation on the screen. This was a show that celebrated drag. Yes, the set looked like they filmed in RuPaul's parents' garage, and the lighting made everyone look like they were using a really shitty Instagram filter, but still, it was magical. It was 44 minutes and 19 seconds of absolute joy, and I loved every single queen that walked into the workroom. Akasha, Bibi Zahara Benet, Jade Sotomayor, Nina Flowers, Angina, Rebecca Glasscock, Chanel, Tammy Brown, and Victoria Porkchop Partner. Every one of them was my hero. I'm going to stop there. What do you think? What was your reaction to all of that?
My reaction to all of this, the first time I read it was, oh my God, who did I let in my home?
Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah, that's an understatement.
No, it was really humanizing. It was really humanizing specifically for me because of your work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. It it kind of illuminated for me uh, why my story could have an impact, could be important to people. Somebody who in their own words, makes their living writing business books for business people to tell them how to be better people. I mean, I I really related to a lot of the humanity that you expressed, and it it honestly just put me back in the shoes of being like a self-proclaimed drag race super fan of seeing something magical in the representation that you get to see on TV. Uh, that changes your mind about something, that opens your mind to something, or that shows you something in a way you've never seen it before. Before RuPaul's Drag Race aired, I was terrified of drag queens. I
Mhm.
really did not like them. And after it aired, I was still terrified of them, but now I know why. I found validation.
Right. You validated why you're afraid of very large clowns. Um, it it makes me think about when I read that chapter back, and I've read this thing like 1,000 times. Aaron just said dragophobia. Yeah, it's probably a thing.
It's
Um,
true.
I it made me think about where my love of drag comes because I love drag. Drag is magical to me. It is. Someone once described to me, drag queens are the goddesses of the queer community.
Yeah.
And I love that thought. I remember the first time I went to a gay bar. It was, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, before you were born. It was 1987.
Not that long.
I may or may not have been underage. We don't need to discuss that. Um, and there was a drag queen, and there were two queens actually. Baker, who looked nothing like Jackée, but she was an amazing, amazing, amazing queen. And Scarlett, who was like a Marilyn Monroe look-alike. She was so gorgeous. And I walk into this bar and I'm like, what in the fuck is this? And it was a weird feeling because, of course, I'm a very femmy, young queer boy, and I'm in this weird like, is this what being gay is about? And it was, I asked a lot of
Mhm.
questions of myself about my sexuality and my gender, but I also stood there and watched, in particular, Jackée performing Grace Jones, "Slave
Uh,
to the Rhythm,"
uh.
and I was like, take my goddamn money. I just fucking take it.
I
And
don't need rent.
we had $1 bills at the time, which no longer exist in Canada. But I was like, this is magical. And from then on, I was like, I love drag and everything about drag. And not just, I've never been one who's like, oh, I only like the pageanty kind of drag, the pretty queens. I like
Right.
every aspect of drag. I love drag kings. I love everything about drag because it's just magical. It's makeup and play, and just can't get enough of it.
My favorite things about drag are all of my least favorite things about drag. Like if I ever say that I hate when queens do this or performers do that, that means I am looking for you at the next show and praying that you do it to give my heart so much joy. Like
Yeah.
I hate that drag queens are also catty. I hate that we're just such catty, cunty little characters. It's the worst to deal with in real life. Are you kidding me? But it's so
I know.
good.
I know. And I I try to be a nice person, and I don't really want to be. So,
But
yeah, I
then
get
good
it.
drag.
Yes, yeah, a sharp tongue there is. Um, when was the first drag show you saw? Was it Venus?
Um, no, actually, the first drag show I saw live in person was this queen in Denver named Mona Lott, who would perform and do, yeah, right, her name. I was all ready. Like she she was a big old divine ass. Well, big is an exaggeration. She was like 5 feet tall, maybe, but but her presence, her presence was huge, and she did drag bingo uh, at this place called Lanny's Clock Tower Cabaret in this basement cabaret of a clock tower in downtown Denver. And I remember my high school boyfriend, ex-boyfriend at that point, had taken me there because he loved drag. He watched Drag Race. And after that night, I was just so hooked. She was everything raunchy. She was hitting on girls' boyfriends. She lip synced and she looked terrifying. She looked terrifying. And getting to see up close and personal like that, I I just really loved it. And then I would never see another drag queen like that again for like years.
Mm. Yeah, Aaron just asked if the Scarlet I was mentioning was Scarlet Bobo. Scarlet Bobo would stab you for that, Aaron. Because Scarlet Bobo, for those of you who don't know, was on the first season of Canada's Drag Race. She is a fierce queen. She's actually living in LA now. Scarlet Bobo is about 20 years younger than the Scarlet I was referring to. Uh,
Ooh.
and Scarlet Bobo is going to hunt you down, Aaron, and knife you in the neck. I'm just warning you now. Um, I want to talk about the most unexpected moments in the process because I have mine. What was your most unexpected moment in the process of writing this book?
I think my most unexpected moments in the process of writing this book were honestly just all the things we talked about that uh didn't even get made into the book. Like
Mm,
I wasn't expecting to like go on tangents about every little emotion and every little memory. It's kind of funny how memory works like that, where you unlock one door to a room and then realize that there were also three other doors in this room the whole time, and if you had just remembered to go through this door, you would have found like another memory somewhere. So the most unexpected part of this process for me was how much I had forgotten, how much I had
mm,
forgotten I remember, and how much that means I need to work through it. Because if the stories are still there, hidden away in my little mind mansion somewhere, then
yeah.
it means I still have some saging to do around the house.
It's funny how trauma does that to you, doesn't it?
It
Uh, there was a
is.
there was a lot of shit that didn't end up in the book, only because we didn't want to book the length of War and Peace. It, needed to be something reasonable that people could read. Um,
Right. And it's already halfway made out of pictures. So I feel
right?
like we
Yes.
really split the difference.
Yeah. You can't have a book about a drag queen without pictures. Come on. Like it's a
You
visual
really
medium.
can't.
It's just a book about pictures. The I will say the most interesting thing to me or most surprising thing to me was making you cry
How often did this happen, Michael?
every
Tell the
fucking
people.
interview. It was the
Yeah.
first time, you don't know. The first time it happened, you started to cry, and I honestly, like in the inner monologue was, oh shit, I broke Yvie oddly. Oh my God, I've broken Yvie. Yvie's crying. What am I? And of course, I'm trying to keep this like, okay, tell me, like my therapist would do. Um, And then it happened every interview. And I was like, oh no, Yvie cries. That's just her thing. Okay. All right. I
I just
guess
care about a lot of things, Michael. I just care about a lot of things.
it's great. It's that like the emotion is so honest.
Well, you know what I'm curious about, since you say you were shocked about that. I don't think I ever came off in Drag Race as somebody who is afraid of a good cry. What do you think shocked you about this?
It's the difference between the edit and the real. And as much as, yes, absolutely, we saw you cry on Drag Race, but it it was not what am I trying to say? It was that I Drag Race is fabricated, right? Like it is, there's nothing
Yeah,
real
there's a
about
story.
reality television. It is edited within an inch of its life, and we all know that. Like it's they now call it unscripted television, yet there's someone with a script there. Um, versus the real Yvie going, oh no, this is who that person is. That raw emotion. And I also think that one of the things that it surprised me, I am a very emotional person, but I'm also somebody who is on heavy doses of antidepressant medications. So, so my emotions are not close to the surface. So like when I cry, it's a hot mess.
It's a
Uh,
deep, deep, deep.
it's deep. We have hit the core of the earth at that point. So it was that yours were so free flowing was also part of that, that I was like, oh, look, there she is. Okay, wow, it's so natural for you to feel those emotions, which I think is a beautiful thing.
It's funny because I just like I promise in my everyday life, I really don't cry that much. I
Yes, you
like
do. I'm sure you
I
do.
really don't. I really don't. Only at like movies, or sad events, bad news, beautiful moments, successes,
Commercials
failures, seeing cute things, seeing
when
gross things,
when
being
the sun is
scared.
up, when the sun is not up. It's just I'm
I think it's because a cry and a laugh are so closely related, you
they
know?
are. Yeah,
Yeah, so if I'm easy to cry, it's only because I'm easy to laugh.
you are. That it was a perfect moment of one of the things I so loved about our time together. You are deep, girl. Like that's a deep thought about how a laugh and cry are so close together. It's that intelligence and the depth, and that's the shit that I loved as part of this process. There were many, many moments when I was like, wow, this girl is, yeah, very, very, very intelligent. Um, don't you, I can see the look on your face. You're about to fucking cry again, aren't you?
I'm not. I'm not. I have allergies.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe that's it. Maybe I break Evie oddly. Oh God. Would you, if my mom were alive, she would spank me. She'd be like, stop making Evie cry. Um, would you like to read an excerpt from the book?
Yeah, yeah, I will. I will. There's a lot in this book that really spoke to me. Obviously, because a lot of it was spoken by me.
I hope so.
But I figured I'll also read from my opening thoughts, since uh this is the closest I came to writing directly from my perspective instead of crying at you in a Zoom interview. It's a little strange writing a book about yourself. Like, how fragile does a person's ego have to be to publish a cry for validation? It's even more strange considering that most memoirs are written after the peak of someone's career, not at the beginning. You read that right, so let's be clear. No matter where you're picking up in my story, it's just getting started. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to put out a book because there were some pretty radical things that had happened in my life, and I felt those stories would best be told in print. But I'm not entirely a writer. Sure, I may have published a couple literary magazines in high school, but nowadays, my art is mostly visual and performance. I think in the visual. When I come up with my outfits, I often see them in my dreams or in the natural world around me, not in concrete designs necessarily, but in abstract. Like for my veiled it runway look on Drag Race All Stars, All Winners. I had been plagued by a series of dreams about floating triangles, colorful sparkling beads, and a woman wrapped in a blanket wandering through the desert. None of these dreams really meant anything on their own, but I followed them into the waking hours of creativity regardless. For weeks, I would wake up in the middle of the night and be driven by the urge to sew, stone, create. Did I feel insane? Sure. But the result was an iconic look that I got to bring to the runway. That's how I create my art, whether it be my drag or my visual art or my music. But writing is different because I speak like I think, stream of conscious. My brain is always two steps ahead of my mouth, and what comes out is sometimes not as coherent as I want it to be. So it takes a lot of time for me to form my thoughts into the words that accurately convey them. Needless to say, the idea of writing a book is daunting, and it's one thing to write a few words of rap for my single Vibe, now available on iTunes. But it's another thing entirely to figure out a 50,000 word book. So when I met Michael, it was one of those moments where the universe puts something or someone in front of you, and you think, shit, that was some great timing, which brings us to this moment. And I will stop there.
I think when I read that the particularly part about how you dream about your outfits, that to me made it all kind of came together. I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. See the visual. Yeah, that she needs therapy. Those are
I
um
mean, maybe, or maybe art is my therapy.
art is your therapy. That's deep, man. That's deep.
Art,
Uh,
art, and our interviews.
oh God, I can't be your therapist.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
Michael. Don't worry. We've already told a quarter of my story.
Oh,
Really, I'm curious. I'm curious what you felt about that opening, about my passage that I know you've had to read a million times
a
over and
million,
over.
a million and 42. I think you are right. That is the one moment where you kind of address the reader directly. And for everyone who's watching, hey, um,
What's up, y'all?
the book is it's done like a narrative story where I am the narrator, and then I use quotes from Yvie and Yvie's family and friends and directly. So you hear Yvie's voice directly, but it's strung together by my meager words. Um, there's it just explains so much about who you are, and I think it sets the tone for the rest of the book. Um, because it's you, it's your voice in that moment speaking directly to the reader. And I think it really puts a nice opening on the book to set us up for that journey of through the book, because there's some words in the book.
I was gonna
There's
say
some
she starts a little hard, she gets a little soft, and then she goes a little hard again.
wait, what are we talking about now?
Books, totally
Hmm.
books.
Good. uh it yeah it there are some moments in the book that are raw, and uncensored. I was going to say uncut. I realized I shouldn't, but uncensored. Um, and um, you feel those. So I think that opening kind of just sets us up for what the reader is about to experience in a good way.
Ooh, I sure hope so. I sure
I
hope so.
I hope so. Otherwise, God, why did we put this damn thing together? Um, what do you think is going to shock the readers the most?
Um, it's really hard to pick that. I think if I have to give anybody one specific juicy nugget of what they think or what you can expect, it's that uh is that every single person out there has highs and lows, and that sounds so trite and so vague in this context, but you can never know the grit of what somebody has gone to and gone through to get where they are at any given day. I think people are going to be shocked, quite frankly, at uh, some of my stories about my upbringing, about my childhood. Uh, and maybe I am because it's close to home for me, but uh, getting to read about some of my earlier relationships and my relationships with the world and like with my family members, uh with how I identify and with how I walk through it. It was a little painful to find out that some things that you think as a little kid aren't aren't always true, and that other things that you think were, even though people tried to pretend they're not. Uh, I think people are going to be shocked, find out that I never talk about a lot of these little things more. But that's because I've got so much else to talk about, and you can just read my book now.
Exactly. You don't need to talk about it anymore. There's a book. You can just hand the book and be like, "Yeah, read this."
What do you what do you think is going to shock people the most?
I think the thing that will shock people the most is one of the reasons why I wanted to write the book was the the unbridled raw honesty and the frankly shit that you've been through in your life um that has all shaped who you are, and it shaped what we saw on Drag Race season 11. It's shaped you as an artist, it's shaped you as a human, and I think what will surprise people is how open you are in sharing. And that's I think, a gift um, to the readers, to your fans, is that you have said, you know what, I'm just going to open the book up wide and let you read, literally and figuratively. And it's the warts and all, right? Like it doesn't feel polished. It doesn't feel like you're hiding. And I think that will surprise some fans in a good way,
Well, I hope they enjoy the warts because they're all there.
right? They are all there.
Michael, you're gonna
Now,
be you're gonna be joining me for a bunch of these stops along this book tour, aren't you?
we have a 32 city book tour. Mother of pearl. Yeah. Starting in New York City on June, you're gonna cry. On June 18th at New York City at the Barnes and Noble on Fifth Avenue.
Wait, is
Um,
that like literally a week from now?
It
Yeah.
is literally a week today. Yep.
So in 1 week
Yeah,
at Barnes and Noble
7 days.
on Fifth Avenue in New York, Manhattan, find me. Come hang out. I'll be there hanging out with a pile of my books. You can take pictures and smell me. We're gonna we're gonna be talking some more about the book. We're gonna be drinking heavily. I don't know if Barnes and
Absolutely.
Noble has advertised that, but I will be drinking heavily.
Barnes and Noble corporate just exploded. Um, yes,
Bring your own shooters.
we're going to just do whatever, you know? And I want people to come and drag. I want people to just get done up. I'm hoping people come done up. I will, of course, look like I want to talk to you about bundling your home and auto insurance. But am hoping that people really get done up and come
That's
and
it,
see us.
Michael. Way to set an example.
Right? I know. I'm shit. But June 18th we start, then we go to Denver, then St. Louis, and all the way through to our last destination, which is Palm Springs, California, for Pride on November 2nd. It's going to be a long summer, and I will not be at all the spots, but you will.
But I will.
You will.
Woo!
Evie
So if you
Oddly.
really want to see Michael, stalk him, find his schedule,
Yeah.
ask him, slide into his DMs on all the apps.
Slide in
Uh,
my DMs,
if you
man.
really want to see me be in one of these 32, you said?
32.
Be one of the 32 cities. Or also, actually, we're doing
A virtual,
a
right?
digital, yeah, a virtual meet and greet on the 25th, I want to say,
Yeah, it's
at
2 weeks
on
today.
Fan Room Live. Oh, would you look at that? 2 weeks. Yeah,
2 weeks,
one week.
fine.
Barnes and Noble, New York, with 2 weeks. Uh, Fan Room Live, everywhere, across the universe. All about Evie, tits out for the boys.
It's all lining up. Your nipples are pierced and beautiful. Yeah, it's going to be a great tour. I am very excited about seeing the fans. And the best part about seeing your fans is they're not my fans, so I can step back and be like, "Oh, this is cool." Like eating popcorn while watching a train wreck. I am so excited for that. Um,
You all know what his face looks like now.
oh shit, let's go. And if you'd like to know more about the tour, you can go to allaboutyvie.com or oddlyevie.com. Either one, the information is on them. And check it out and get your tickets to come and see the one, the only Evie Oddly. And I am so excited because I get to spend a shit ton of time with you.
Right? You're
Probably
gonna get
some of
sick
it
of me.
sober, which, I mean, that'll be fine.
It's gonna
But
be
we're
magical. Those first 5 minutes of the day are the hardest.
absolutely, yeah, that's oh my God. We ain't right. We ain't right. I am so excited. I hope you're excited. We're gonna have some fun. Check out allaboutyvie.com and find out all you need to know about this wonderful book. And that's it. Now I'm gonna go and go to bingo because that's what we do in Palm
Yeah,
Springs.
you go to bingo. I'm gonna go cuddle my cats and read my book backwards to summon Satan.
Girl, you ain't right.
And,
Thanks,
and thank y'all for
everyone.
joining us here in Queer. I'll see you all round about in the 32 cities.
32 cities. See you soon.